Hey, I'm wondering, have you really thought about how much prep time you've put into your retirement? Because a lot of folks don't seem to be as prepared as they need to be or should be, or maybe even feel like they want to be. I know I was one of those folks, and once I started doing more research on it, trying to plan for it, I've come up with a few things that I think are important for us, especially when you're thinking about finances. Now, just a blanket statement here. I am not a financial planner, advisor. I am not a smart guy with money. I am not advising you. I'm just giving you my opinion and things that we're trying to do. So take and do your own due diligence and research on any of the ideas that I throw out there. I'm just sharing with you what I have planned and what I've thought about. And the first thing that I don't think a lot of people consider is being debt free. And it's not just as far as paying for your house and having your property paid for. That's obviously a bonus, especially if you're not planning to go anywhere, if you're living where you're going to retire. Having your house paid off going into retirement is a huge financial advantage. The very basics of any finances, though, is what's the math look like? Are you living within your expenses? And when you consider going into retirement, you need to look at what your income is going to be coming in and what your expenses are going out. And just like when you were raising kids and doing anything else, you have to have a budget that's balanced and not negative. And so that's a big thing to consider is, what are my monthly expenses? What is my monthly income? And am I living within those means? And that includes groceries and house payments and electrical bills and etc. And so there's a lot of things you can do in life, things you can change that can make your situation better. One of the things that we have left to tackle and before we retire is paying off one more vehicle. And luckily we don't have a lot we owe on it. But that's going to be the focus, so that the vehicles we have are all paid for and owned by us. That eliminates a car payment. And that's the only thing we literally have left to pay for to be debt free. We're still helping the kids with their college and etc. And so that debt's not going to go away until they're in a position they can take that debt on themselves. And we've accepted that fact. We know where we stand financially. We can make those payments as needed to help the kids get going. My son has full-time work, so I'm not concerned about him. He already pays me for his payment. My daughter has not yet graduated, but when she does, it's going to take her some time to get established, just like it did him. And we will, of course, make those payments. They are in my name anyway. So we'll continue to make those payments until she's in a position where she can do so. Part of the reason that we are going to move and going to live in Florida is to give her a place to stay and to try to get established, because she is probably going to need to work she is going to need to work in an area that has access to water for the most part. She's a marine biologist, so obviously being in a state surrounded by water makes a big difference, gives a lot more opportunities. We also know that she's going to need some time to get established and start earning a decent wage. And if she can live with us until that time comes, or she finds roommates, or whatever the situation may find Mr. Right and move on, we want to at least be able to offer that to her. And we can do that if we're in that state. So that's part of that position we're in. But between now and then, we want to make sure that we've eliminated every possible debt that we can. And really the only thing left we have is my wife's newer car that she drives in Florida, and we're going to get that knocked out here in the next few months so that we can continue to get better positioned financially. The next thing I think people need to consider is, what are you wasting money on that you may not even think that you're wasting money on? And we've seen a lot of ads lately about these subscriptions and etc. that you can go on and check with Rocket Money and Expedia and etc. This is not an affiliation or endorsement of any of those services. I'm just saying there are ways to find out what you may be paying for subscriptions that you don't know, and are you really using them all? We have, for instance, we have eliminated several of the prescriptions that we used to have, or subscriptions, mostly for TV viewing. We share channels and programs with my son, and and etc. to try to eliminate some of their costs and some of our costs. So you're allowed to have so many people under your family plan. We put them on ours, and they've put us on theirs. Right now, we share an app for the radio, Spotify app, that we all are on the family plan. My son pays it, we pay him. We have Netflix and we have Hulu. That's it. If you keep your expenses low, obviously that makes it a lot easier to keep your bills in check when you go into a change in retirement. The next step, I think, with that too, is that people have to get accustomed to the fact that you're not going to make as much money. I have a pretty substantial income. When I go into retirement, that income's going to be cut less than half of what I currently make. Now, if I was only working 40 hours a week, it would be very close. I wouldn't say even close, but not in half. But right now, because of the amount of overtime that we're offered and I typically work, I make substantially more than my 40-hour rate. So, and that's an adjustment that we'll have to make because we're not going to have those extra checks and extra income coming in. That's another reason why we need to make sure that we have everything in play and have it set up so that we're paying only for things that we need and want and deserve to have, and that are not expenses that are weighing down on our finances. Again, living within your means, living within your budget is something that you should be doing now and forever. And when you go into retirement and your income drops, you just need to be more aware of those things and pay closer attention. Things sneak up and people aren't prepared for them. So having an emergency fund, having cash at disposal. I think still many of us, I personally focus so much on my 401k that I didn't really put a lot in cash. And so that is going to make an impact, obviously, on having access to emergency situations. What you don't want to be doing is using your credit card or some other source, or constantly have to, get into your 401k to get money, even when you're in a position where that money is not necessarily under a 401k and you've moved it into a financial plan. You don't want to have to constantly be calling your broker to get your money. So after we pay off our card, the next thing I'm going to be doing is bankrolling a 6-month emergency fund, cash wise, minimum at least 6 months, that will cover anything and everything that could come up. And the fortunate part of it for us, because I'm going to be getting a pension, my income is still going to be very good, considering, and all of our bills right now fall well within those numbers, well within, even with the car payment, and that's because we've paid off a lot of other expenses that we've had. So and my whole plan in theory was that when I retire, if I can pay all of our bills with my pension, then anything that my wife earns or anything aside from pension income that I earn as part-time money or things to keep busy, whatever, side money, is all going to be bonus money that goes toward living life and doing the other things that we want to do. It won't be needed to pay the bills. All the bills will be covered with my pension, and I do mean all of them. That would include our food and gas and insurance payments and everything. And that gives us a tremendous amount of leeway when it comes to income and other things that we can do and afford to do. But and I should not have to ever really tap into my 401k. There is no major purchase that we're going to need to make or want to make, at least at this juncture, that would allow or require me to tap into my 401k. So the plan is for that money to stay there for my wife as a surviving benefit, should the time come that I pass, for her and for my kids, and for her to have her life from that point on. So if we are living within our means and have excess income coming in to support other things we want to do, we should not have to tap into those numbers. I'd originally thought about even going into Social Security at 62, but that just means that I may be making enough that I'll have to pay tax on that, and I don't know that I want to do that. So there's no real need to tap into it if I have the income to support our lifestyle without using it. And that just means that if I wait till 65 or even 67 to get full benefits, then it'll just be more income and that's better income for my wife as a survivor benefit too as well. So anyways, just a few more thoughts, things to think about as you go into retirement, planning for your future, planning for your financial future, living within your means. And this is advice for anybody and everybody. My dad always used to say, work hard and quit wasting your money on beer and pizza. And so I've done the work hard part, and I've tried not to waste my money on beer and pizza, or any other things that would be considered wasteful that tap into your monthly sources that you may not think about. And I say include beer and pizza there as a commentary, but eating out is a very, very expensive way to live. And I'm not saying you should never do it, but it's expensive to eat out, especially with the prices going up. It's bad enough to have to buy food with the rising inflation, and it's not going away. That's one of the things people don't realize about inflation, is that it may not go up as fast, but prices are not going to come down. Don't kid yourself, that's not ever going to happen, especially when the companies and the producers know that we'll pay $5 for a gallon of milk. Why would they ever drop it back down to $4? And they'll never be able to justify it to their stockholders why they lowered prices and cut profits either. So those things are never going to happen. It's almost funny to hear people think that don't understand the way inflation works. I think is they think the prices will come down if inflation comes down. Well, inflation never goes away. It just grows at a slower or faster pace. So the fact that it was only up 2.9% this month, that's still 2.9% more than it was last month. And your year over year is still 2.9%. It's never going to be a negative number. And if it is, you can bet that they'll do something about that too. So anyway, look into your finances, look at where you spend your money, make sure that you're spending it wisely, living within your means. That includes food budgets and eat out budgets and gas budgets. Make sure you think about those things. Insurance, car insurance, we're finding is quite an expense in Florida. But there's trade-offs everywhere, anywhere you go, for whatever places you want to be. So that's all I got for today. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.